approach to international migration. But since the adoption of the agreement, the UK, as we can tell, has moved away from its commitment to the principles of the compact. I mean, the UK hostile policies and rhetoric are very clear evidence of that. As we draw closer to the general election, we already see how migration is being exploited again for political gains. To help us with our discussion today, we have a list of amazing speakers, some of whom have actually been engaged with the Global Forum on Migration and Development, and also the Global Compact on Migration. I'll introduce each speaker in a minute before they speak. Very briefly, because you have, if you'd like to know more about our speakers, we have sent their full biographies to all participants, so please check them out to find out a little bit more about them. Each speaker, I'm going to invite each speaker to present their contribution maybe in 5 minutes. And at the end, I'll ask one maybe question to the speakers, then I'll open it up for all the participants to ask any questions or to make any comment to engage in the conversation. And then we can conclude. But we really will try to finish before 8 o'clock. Sorry. Yeah. But before I before I go and introduce the speakers, I want to tell you a little bit about our role, Migrant Voice, in the Global Compact on Migration. Indeed, Migrant Voice, we have contributed in the Global Forum on Migration Development, their meetings and processes which led to the development of the Global Compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration. We brought the voices and experiences of migrants into that platform, alongside other, civil society organizations from around the world. Now, our engagement, of course, was facilitated by PICM, which is a platform for international cooperation on undocumented migrants, which will lead me now to go straight away to introduce our first speaker, Michelle Levoy. Michelle is the director of PICM. And Michelle, she will tell us about the Global Compact for Migration, the role played by PICM, and involvement and influence of regional and global civil society organizations in the process. So, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks so much, Nazek. So nice to be part of this event. Nice to see so many familiar faces as well, and thanks for the invitation. So here I'd like to maybe just highlight 3 points, building on what you've just said, Nazek. So one, how did civil society organizations organize at the global level to get us to the Global Compact? The second point is how then were civil society active in shaping the contents of it? And the third one is what can we do now that we have it? So the first point on how did we get there? So as Nazek, as you mentioned, there were many years actually of civil society coming together under the Global Forum. But even before that, I'd like to highlight maybe just some key points that got us to the Global Compact in 2018. So in 2006, when Kofi Annan was Secretary General of the UN, he launched the high-level dialogue on migration and development. And this was in New York in the UN. And I want to say this point to start off with, because I also want to illustrate how civil society is seen in these processes. So in that meeting in New York in 2006, civil society could only be, I think there were maybe 2 people allowed into the official governmental process. And the majority of us were sitting in overflow rooms, watching on UN TV in the building, but not in the actual room with the governments. And so we organized ourselves across the street in kind of a church building, a parallel space. We had the former High Commissioner of Human Rights, Mary Robinson, come to our event. And the Special Rapporteur on Migrants at the time as well. And so that was kind of a key event because it brought many of us together at the global level. Then ready for the next year in 2007, when the Global Forum on Migration and Development was launched as a process. And that process, as Nazek said, was a process where states would come together with civil society organizations in an informal dialogue. But why I also want to mention 2007 is because that was the first year that we had this global forum, and it took place almost every year until now. The first year, it was a private foundation who organized civil society, the Quine Baudouin Foundation. So as civil society, we couldn't even organize ourselves in that space. And every year now, there's been a big trust building activity. And in 2011 in Geneva, civil society was allowed to organize ourselves. And kind of as the years went by, we had in 2020 in Ecuador the most open space as civil society and governments and other actors together, where we could all be in each other's spaces. Kind of civil society could go into the government space and vice versa. But this year, literally 2 weeks ago in France, it was a setback. So we weren't kind of formally allowed into some of the spaces. So I wanted to start by saying that because the fact of civil society organizing has been instrumental, but it's also been a process. So it's, you know, civil society globally has to get to know each other, and we have to share our common recommendations and our strategies, and that has taken some time. So that kind of brings me to the next point. The second point was once we were kind of organized, how did we then influence the contents? So in 2018, and here I wanted to highlight, no, yeah, 2018, there were basically 6 months of negotiations in New York on the Global Compact process itself. And this was a very open dialogue. So this was in the UN itself. Civil society could be in the same room with governments. And it was that openness and the fact that civil society was already kind of well known and recognized as a credible kind of actor by states and other UN bodies, that we had some influence in the text itself. We also had regional groupings of governments. So, for example, the African countries were negotiating with the state Comoros, leading the negotiations for the African group. There were the so-called like-minded countries. So these were maybe 13 countries or so that were always coordinating their response as a group. There were the child rights champions. There was the EU minus Hungary. It was 2018 and kind of a replay of what we see now a little bit. So as civil society, we would meet with a lot of those groups. We would kind of share our points. And I do think that a number of the things that we have in the final document reflect a lot of this open dialogue and the suggestions that were made by civil society and UN bodies towards states. So as an example, in Objective 13 of the Global Compact, we have wording around alternatives to detention in a community-based setting, and we have states working to end immigration detention of children. That's pretty important that they commit to working to end it. We have Objective 7, which talks about vulnerabilities in migration and the fact of transitioning from one status to another, aka regularization. So if you do a search for the word regularization, you won't find it, but you'll find the concept. We don't necessarily have the word firewall, but we have protection of privacy, so that someone who goes to access services, if they're undocumented, they can do it safely. So then the third point that I want to mention is there have been a lot of advances in the text itself, in civil society organizing around it. But then what do we do with it now? And I think we'll spend the next 2 hours or so or less talking about that in the UK context. But I think one of the roles for civil society is to demonstrate the gap between the commitments in the Global Compact and the reality on the ground. And I wanted to give two examples from the EU context. It was, to be honest, very disheartening for us working in Brussels to see the EU launch the Pact on Migration in September 2020, basically almost 2 years after 18 member states of the EU adopted the Global Compact, and to see already in that proposal, which has 2 years later well, 3 years later, it now has political agreement. In the proposal and the political agreement, we see that it will most likely increase detention of children. And I give this as a starting point because the wording on the Global Compact is pretty clear that states should work to end it. And with the pact proposals, we see that it most likely will increase it. We also see with the pact proposals that it most likely will increase racial profiling, which is objective 17 of the Global Compact, through the screening directive, because it will not only screen people at the borders, but on the territory. It's very difficult to understand how police on the territory will screen people if they're undocumented unless they use racial profiling. And another example is the EU's gender-based violence proposal, which as we speak, the Commission and the Parliament and Council are literally negotiating as we speak now. There should be a press release hopefully later tonight. We do not think that there will be a firewall for undocumented women to safely report gender-based violence, and that's an objective 7. So part of our role is to show these contradictions and to kind of, to strengthen the commitments, the original commitments. Another role is for us to be part of the ongoing process of implementation. So the Global Compact was adopted in December 2018. In May 2022, there was the International Migration Review Forum. So it's every 4 years, all the states who have adopted the Global Compact come together and try to discuss what the progress has been. So as civil society, we participated in that. And then every 2 years, there's regional reviews. So these are to kind of see how is this compact being implemented in the different regions. The regional review for Europe is this year, 2024. There was a multi-stakeholder meeting last week in Geneva. There will be another one online in February. Date isn't known yet, but once we do know it, we will definitely share it. Anyone's welcome to participate. And then the actual review itself will be March 11th. And they will also be a space on the UN website to make a submission. So that's always an open process. And the last point that I want to mention is another way that civil society is also shaping this continuous implementation is to develop indicators for how the GCM should be done. I don't know if you can see this, but with my image there, maybe it's not that visible. I'll put it in the chat maybe. This is a Spanish collective of organizations that did indicators on the GCM. It's not for Spain, it's actually for any government or any organization. It's Médicos del Mundo, ActionAid, Convive, Reracoge, and Asociación Jurminahui. So they've developed indicators for how all those different objectives should be implemented. And it's a very interesting example, and the UN itself will also be developing indicators. So I'd like to leave it at that for the moment to not take more time and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to go straight to our next speaker, Professor Nando Sigona, who is one of our trustees. Welcome, Nando, and also the director of the Institute for Research into International Migration and Superdiversity at the University of Birmingham. So Nando will tell us about the Global Compact and its connection to the policies that the UK has pursued over the past few years. Thank you, Nando. Over to you. You are on mute, Nando.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's great to be here. And I'll basically just go through a few points that, in a way, to look at the way that the post-Brexit immigration regime in Britain is developing, the direction is going, and then maybe we can see to what extent is aligning or not with the directions and the objectives of the Global Compact on migration. One of the things that we know is that the way that the British government is presenting the new migration regime is as a fairer migration regime than the previous one. And is fairer because it doesn't discriminate in favor of EU nationals. So the idea is that now everyone is treated the same. There is no longer a privileged treatment for the citizens of the European Union. Now, obviously, you can object, and the EU often object, is that it's that the EU national were not migrant, but EU citizen exercise freedom of movement within a country member of the European Union. So, and the British citizen in Europe will do the same. So, and they were not actually subject to immigration control under sort of the previous system. The other point, though, that is interesting in this, and as a result of this shift, I mean, one of the most sort of striking evidence, if you look at the data, is that the EU national has basically disappeared from the current inflows of migrants towards the UK. I mean, at the moment, there is only one EU citizen out of 10 new migrants coming in the last 12 months in Britain. And in 2016, there were 7 out of 10. Okay, so there has been a big shift as a result of this change in the political in the immigration regime, and more broadly in the political sort of circumstances. The second point, which is interesting and reflecting on this idea of fairness, is that as also Migrant Voice has pointed out several times, the condition under which people comes, and people will say yes, but now we got more people coming in. We got net migration at regular level. But the point is not necessarily the number. The point is the condition under which people are able to live in Britain, to come to Britain, to settle. And what you notice here, as various campaign organizations have pointed out, that we have seen an increase, for example, in the cost of the visas. We have seen the increase in the cost of the NHS charge. We have seen an increase in every single application you need to do to renew to get your indefinite leave to remain, and even to apply for citizenship. But also importantly, we are seeing this idea of precarization of immigration status. I mean, Michelle before mentioned this idea of the volatility, the mobility of status. What I see from the research we are doing at the moment is actually exactly the opposite, is that the immigration status is becoming more precarious, more fragile, and it's easy to lose it. We talk about irregularization immigration just for this, as a way of capturing this process. A third point, which I think is interesting to observe, is that the way and in the new migration regime makes migrants much more dependable on the employers. So it's called an Australian system, but in reality is much more an employer-led system. So it basically makes people more exploitable and less able really to build their life and in a more sort of creative, free way. There is also the other key point in this new system is what we see is the criminalization of the asylum. The fact that we see gradually the curtailing of the right to claim asylum in Britain. At the same time, we also see the collapse of the existing asylum system through the production of this asylum backlog, which is the pending cases that have never been resolved and they're taking ages. And sometimes now they're trying to speed up, but the backlog, in a sense, was part of the goals of the policy rather than a side effect, but this is another issue. The point is that basically we see gradually access to asylum become more difficult, but also, interestingly enough, there is the use of illegal entry as a way of criminalize sort of access and making access. Before it was just restricted, now making basically de facto impossible. The other element here is this idea that the appropriation, and these are terms that actually come in many ways from the Global Compact around the safe and legal routes. This has become a central sort of tenet in the narrative around migration, that the provision of safe and legal route. All the NGOs, a lot of the NGOs, they will use as a motto, we need safe and legal routes. The interesting thing is that in a way, what we observe is the government appropriating it. Okay, if you look, for example, at the new plan for immigration and a lot of the statement coming from the Home Secretaries over the last 3-4 years, very often what they're going to say is that actually we providing safe and legal routes. And one of the way they're doing it, initially they were talking about obviously the resettlement scheme for Syrians, then it was a resettlement scheme for Afghani. Overall, very small number compared to the size of the crisis in these countries. But recently they have introduced these schemes for Ukrainians and Hong Kongers, which are used very much as an example of the generosity of the British state. We have just published last week a report called Humanitarian Visa in an Hostile Environment to highlight the extent to which these schemes, and I'm going to put the link in the chat in a second, are actually really changing the meaning of protection in the British system. Okay, the way we characterizing them very briefly is, in the case of the Ukrainian, we call it, in the case of the Hong Kong, we call it a protection for a fee. So we call them humanitarian protection, but if you look at the details of the scheme, it's very much a hybrid where in order to access this humanitarian protection anyway, you have to pay even less than economic migrant, but more of humanitarian, traditional humanitarian visa, which are free. There is also an issue about restriction and interesting of some of the advantages that come from humanitarian protection. For example, the fact that then you may be able to access tertiary education paying home fees don't apply to the Hong Kongers, which are basically are paying international fees in university in Britain at the moment. And the other one for the Ukrainian, the key issue is one of the big weakness of the, in general, temporary protection is actually the temporariness. We're getting close to a time in which the 3 years temporary protection is going to expire. There is no clarity about what is happening next. The government is not coming out with any clear indication of that. And people that we interviewed for this project are clearly pointing out to the extent to which the insecurities become part of their everyday life. I mean, imagine a families with children, and we are talking mostly of single parents with children, because as a result of the war, men tended to stay back in Ukraine to fight. We got children that started to spend 3 years in the UK educational system that they don't know if they can enroll from next year in the school because they may have to leave. And there is no clarity about this. They call it protection, but in a sense, it's a protection which is much lower than the protection we afford, for example, to refugees. Recognize refugees will have the 5 years and then the capacity to renew long term. For the Ukrainians, at the moment, there is no pathways to long-term settlement. And there is also this idea that the protection depends on the way that the war is going to turn, with no attention to the experiences to the people in the country, the way they're settling. So we see a system that has got a lot of criticalities, which I've really struggled to see how they can sort of make a narrative that will fit within their obligation and the global compact for migration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of, yes, things for us to think about. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll move swiftly to our next guest speaker, Dr. Peter Walsh, who is a senior researcher at the Migration Observatory and also departmental lecturer in migration studies at the University of Oxford. Peter will look at the net migration, changes to legal migration and asylum policy, including, of course, the minimum income requirement for family reunion visas, the Nationality and Borders Act, and the Illegal Migration Act, and Rwanda. A lot of issues to quickly take us through them in a few minutes. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Nazek. It's a pleasure to be here. So recent UK migration policy developments fall broadly into one of two categories. Restrictions of legal migration, so that's migration for work, migration for study, and migration for family. And other restrictions aiming to tackle irregular migration, typically through deterrence policies and restrictions of the asylum system. So if we turn first to legal migration, I think there are 4 key recent restrictions, and they were all introduced, at least ostensibly, in response to record levels of net migration that were revealed last year for 2022. So the first is a restriction on student dependence. In the year ending March 2023, around 150,000 people received visas to come to the UK as the partners or children of international postgraduate students. Postgraduate undergraduates aren't able to bring their family members. That was about 10% of all visas issued that year. So that's why from January 2024, international postgraduate students have no longer been able to bring their partners and children unless they're doing postgraduate research degrees. So that's either 2 years master's research programs or PhDs. Now, those exemptions make up only about 5% of all international postgraduates. So quite a substantial majority now will no longer be able to bring their family members. That's the first one. The second restriction is a ban on care workers and senior care workers from bringing partners and children. So something similar applied to them. The last time that I checked, that's expected to come into force on the 11th of March, so next month. The third restriction is an increase to the general salary threshold for long-term work visas. So that's going to be increased from just over £26,000 to £38,700 this spring. Now, although that's a quite substantial increase, surprisingly enough, only around 30% of long-term skilled work visa recipients will be subject to that new 38.7K requirement. And that's because care workers, health workers, and teachers, they make up 70% of visa issuances, and they're unaffected, either because there's a carve-out, as in the case of care workers, or they're subject to national pay scales, as with nurses, doctors, and teachers. So if we look at the 30% that will be affected, actually many migrants working in those roles already earn more than the proposed £38,700 threshold. So the key occupations which have median salaries below the new threshold are butchers, chefs, restaurant and catering managers, and marketing associate professionals. The others, the median salaries actually exceed 38.7K. So that's the third restriction. And the fourth one is an increase to the minimum income requirement for British citizens or settled residents to bring a foreign partner to the UK. And that's going to roll out in 3 phases. There's going to be a rise to £29,000 this spring, then an increase to £34,500, and then we're told it will reach £38,700 in 2025. Now, the government says this is to cut net migration, but interestingly, since 2021, the family route has only ever made a small impact on net migration. It typically accounts for less than 5% of net migration. Now, under this new rule, most UK residents will not be able to bring a foreign partner to the country. Available data suggest that around 50% of UK employees earn less than the 29,000 threshold that's going to be introduced this spring, and 70% earn less than the £38,000 threshold. The impact of this on families is likely to be very significant. It's going to result in separation. And the other point to make is that, of course, there will be a disproportionate impact on lower earners. So we're thinking about women, young people, ethnic minorities, and those living outside London or the South East. So those are the main restrictions to legal migration. With regard to irregular migration and asylum, the government has really settled into 2 broad approaches here. The first is enforcement, so typically sending financial and operational support to France. We've sent hundreds of millions of pounds over the last few years. And also deterrence, so trying to deter people from making that journey through restrictions of the asylum system. Now, the most important legislation here is the Illegal Migration Act 2023, which proposes to detain and remove all people entering without authorization, such as by small boat, to a safe third country. And that's the sticking point, because the UK has an agreement with only one such apparently safe country, and that's Rwanda, but that scheme is not yet up and running. And so this explains why actually the core part of the Illegal Migration Act, the so-called duty to remove, has yet to come into force, because without a country to send people to, without Rwanda, the Home Secretary is not able to discharge that duty. Now, people will argue over the ethics of the policy and its legal ramifications. I'm more interested in actually whether it will work. And the available evidence on asylum deterrence policies suggests that they have only a small impact on asylum migration. So studies tend to show that geopolitical factors are much stronger drivers of asylum claims than national policy. So we're thinking about conditions in countries of origin, economic inequality, political repression, civil or ethnic conflict of various kinds. Those are the things that drive asylum flows. The second finding from available evidence is that people's choice of country is not much influenced by deterrence policy. Instead, it's influenced by the presence of family members in that destination country, or in the case of the UK, the English language. And then perhaps third, perceptions of the UK as a safe, welcoming and democratic country. The Migration Observatory has just produced a report looking at more depth at asylum deterrence policy. I'll put the link in the chat. That's authored by me and the director, Madeleine Sumption. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll go straight to my next guest speaker, who is Dr. Helia López Zarzosa, she was a sociologist. She's a human rights advocate and guest lecturer, among so many other things. Please do check her biography, and a great friend of Migrant Voice, of course. So Helia will look at the contrast between the UK's current and historical approach to migrants and refugees in official policies and rhetoric, as well as the defiance and solidarity ordinary people have shown. So Helia, over to you. You are on mute, of course. No, Helia, you are on mute. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you for the invitation, but it's a huge, huge topic which I've been asked. So I'm going to go for the latter part. History is a process. I'm going to be a bit more sociological here and contextual, like the history of how we got here. So I will start with a bold claim. Policies, legislation, attitudes, and rhetoric do not flow freely. They are the historical and political evolution of primordial behaviors towards non-nationals as immigrants and refugees. Britain is a good example to do this. To contextualize, Britain became and has been an important hub of the Industrial Revolution and an overseas unrivaled imperial power. I would argue that today's hostile and politically aggressive scenario underpinnings are found in white Britain's socio-history of migration, where class and racialized constructions of nationhood have shaped responses and rhetoric to the so-called alien immigrant and or colored colonials. Racism, xenophobia, discrimination, and intolerance as ideologies of exclusion and power at the core of these historical developments. Historically, Britain has been a country of immigration, and that includes the invitation of European Jewish migrants to settle in England in the 11th century. However, by the 13th century, during the Crusades, bigotry against non-Christians was exploited and stirred up by some of the church and in government. Stories were fabricated, such as the blood libels that accused Jews of murder of Christian children to use their blood in religious rituals. These false accusations ended up with the massacre of Jewish people in York in 1190, and in 1290 in their expulsion. The real reason was financial. Crusader knights refused to repay the money lent by Jews. Xenophobic and anti-Semitic sentiments underpinned these actions. Protestant refugees in the 17th centuries, the Huguenots, for example, were welcome. The state supported them explicitly as they brought new skills and silk production, metalwork, and many other trades that led to the development of new technology. They were critical in Britain's transition to an industrial and capitalist economy. As said, the migration was a gain to England and a loss to France. Indeed, they constituted a political capital for England during its war campaign against Louis XIV, a king that had persecuted the Huguenots and their economic capital. These two examples provide an historical taste of early rhetoric, as well as the political, human, and economic capital value of refugees and migrants, in this case, in Britain. The Victorian era had no restriction for immigration. In fact, it was proud of its open-door attitude and made no distinction between asylum seekers and labor migrants. Fast forward, by the end of the 19th and early 20th centuries, around 100,000 Jewish migrants and refugees fleeing pogrom, persecution, and poverty in Eastern Europe resettled in Britain, mainly in East London. Hostility soon sets in. Indigenous white working class neighborhoods resented their presence and complain about extreme overcrowding and consider them a threat to their jobs. However, refugees and migrants were needed in the already established exploitative sweating industry. Hostility towards Jews would be expressed in terms of national identity and visit a Protestant, Christian, freeborn, and imperialist Britain. As historian David Rosenberg put it, the arrival of refugees was an employer's dream because if workers complain about extremely low wages and Dickensian working conditions, what means called savage environment, they would be easily replaced by the newcomers willing to work long hours at any price. Labor responded. Labor correspondent from the Board of Trade, John Burnett, heightened the panic by lambasting the Jews for not only overcrowding dwellings, but also the labor market. First slides, please. Ismail?
All right. Hi, Sharon.
First slides, please. Slide.
Can you say it?
I will leave it and I will carry on talking. Burnett's views were shared by a large section of British society, including the organized working class. His sentiments were also harbored by a whole spectrum of middle-class opinion. Solidarity towards these extremely exploited refugees and migrant workers came from a group of middle-class socialist feminists of the Women's Industrial Council. A change of government in 1906 was a turning point. So I will leave that and I'll carry on talking. The Liberal government was sympathetic to the plight of the sweated workers and organized an exhibition that made another view of these workers. The awareness aroused by the exhibition led to the establishment of the powerful pressure group, the National Anti-Sweating League, dedicated to securing a legal minimum wage and to appointment in 1907 of a selected committee on homework. But another sector of the British society was not so happy with the settlement of Eastern European Jews. The ideology of anti-Semitism had been present in Britain since the 1870s, and by the end of the 19th and early 20th century, hostility and rejection towards Jewish immigrants, the poor and destitute, something that Spanish philosopher Adela Cortina called aporophobia, was peaking. Unease about this situation prompted the introduction of its first restriction legislation on immigration, the Aliens Act of 1905, that regulated alien immigration and provided the power to prevent the landing and expulsion of undesirable aliens. This legislation was not a coincidence. It was the arduous political work of extreme conservatives in the 1900s. Conservative Prime Minister MPs were determined to make immigration a national issue. The likes of Indian immigrant Marjorie Bonagri, who stood for parliament in 1895 and won on an anti-immigration ticket, and colonial British officer William Evans Gordon, were determined to make immigration a national issue. Evans Gordon, who had warned that a swarm was brewing, was key on the formation of the first anti-immigrant far-right pressure group, the British Brothers League. The BBLL had been described as proto-fascist by some of the openly fascist and openly fascist by others. Their demonstrations, placards, messages demanded something quite familiar today: British job for British workers, British home for British people. Today's conservative government has merged the message into British homes for British workers. None of these slogans came to be true during the First World War. In line with the 1905 Aliens Act and the 1914 Aliens Restriction Act, 216,000 Belgian refugees fleeing the inhuman German invasion were welcomed in Britain. Men and women became employed in Britain, mainly in the war industry, and children were incorporated into several education systems. They were white and Unlike depictions of refugees fleeing in shock, shuffling along dirty paths, or walking in desperation, carrying a few precious possessions, among even pets, as we've seen in the case of the Syrians and Venezuelans, Belgians arrive well-dressed and well-fed. Calhan from the Belgian Refugee Relief noted, Belgians encompass none of the extremes of other alien communities in Britain. The war economy needed them. In a very short period of time, entire families were warmly welcomed, the majority of them into British homes. It's like today's home for Ukraine. Then it was home for Belgians. Accommodation outstripped demand. It was a patriotic thing to do. Patriotism and Britishness were shown in a liberal and compassionate manner. Fast forward, the Syrian civil war displaced over 13 million of refugees. 13,000 were resettled in Britain. Some of them were hosted in Britain homes, and solidarity of ordinary people, as we can see here, with a moral duty to protect refugees can be explicitly seen in this quote. But there are other ways of using English, Britishness, and patriotism by abusing, exploiting, discriminating, excluding, deporting, racializing, dehumanizing human rights, devaluating, and why shouldn't we be said exterminating? When migrants and refugees are framed as illegal, something that emerged only with the 1905 Aliens Act, but not always enforced because of the shortage of labor, the rhetoric has become brutal. The political construction of asylum seekers and refugees as boat people in the past has evolved perversely. Britain's mantra around the boats has led to an invasion narrative that requires to be dealt with militarized action as if in a war against an enemy. And so, Katie Hopkins in The Sun on the 17th of April 2015 said, rescue the boats? I'd use gunship to stop migrants. And then she said this as well. The 2016 Brexit Act, it was said before, worsened things, and legislation has not waited to prevent and deter unlawful immigration by those using so-called unsafe routes. The illegal migration bill introduced to Parliament in March 2023 became law and therefore an act on 20th of July last year. We have now come to the full circle. And to conclude, I will pose some uncomfortable questions. How do we turn the tide? How do we win hearts and minds in an era of populism, authoritarianism, nationalism, proto-fascism, and extreme racism? Is it the end of liberalism? Does the past help to construct the future? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helia. Lots of questions here for all of us and lots of information, historical context. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm aware of the time. I'm going to go straight to our next speaker. Dixon, are you with us? Okay, hello, Dixon Tarnongo. So Dixon is also a development practitioner and social activist with special interest in disability. Dixon will look at the asylum system and its impact on people. Dixon, over to you.
Thank you so much, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening. As introduced, my name is Dixon, and I'll be looking at asylum system and its impact on the lives of the people. The asylum system in the UK has a significant impact on both asylum seekers and the broader society at large. Because of time, I will talk on few key points. My first point to talk about would be protection for refugees. The asylum system provides a legal framework for individuals fleeing persecution, war, or violence in their home countries to seek refuge in UK. It offers protection to those who meet the criteria for refugee status under 1951 Refugee Convention and its protocol. Second, humanitarian obligation. The UK as a government have a humanitarian responsibility that is an obligation, just like any other countries that has humanitarian obligation to provide a safety and assistance to those in need. The asylum system is a manifestation of that obligation. But the question one may ask is, has the UK government lived up to that obligation? Your guess is as good as mine. And then number 3 is the integration challenges. When it comes to challenges for asylum seeker, or even people who have their refugee status, the process of integration in the society can be quite huge, challenging. We talk about language barriers, difficulties in finding employment, accessing education, navigating cultural differences. These are some of the key challenges that people who seek refuge in UK and elsewhere do have to confront with. Now, another issue I'm talking about is the issue of backlog and delays. As you may know, one of the major challenges facing the UK asylum system in particular is backlog and delays in processing asylum claims. Lengthy delays can exacerbate the uncertainty and anxiety experienced by people who seek asylum. And many of us, when we share our experiences, one of the key things that will come out will be how we put in a lot of years waiting, anxious, our mental health got damaged. Is the story of every asylum seeker, is the story of every refugee in the UK. And that's a huge challenge that stares us in the face at every time. Also, issue of access to services. People seeking asylum in UK have limited access to healthcare, housing, and other essential services while their claims are being processed. This can contribute to vulnerability and marginalization. Also, public perception and political discourse. The asylum system often features prominently in public debate, political discourse. Views on immigration, asylum, and refugees can vary widely, ranging from compassion and solidarity to fear and hostility. And a good example is the recent Rwanda case. I heard one of the speakers mention it. I'm concerned about Rwanda because as from the legal point of view, it was totally a deviation from the moral obligation or even the legal obligation that the UK has. And I'm proud to say I'm one of those that celebrated the victory at the Supreme Court. That was quite apt, timely, purposeful, and tomorrow. So these are kind of debates surrounding immigrations in the UK that pose challenges, wrong public perceptions, wrong political moves like the Rwandan saga. I call it Rwandan saga. And then resource allocation. Managing asylum system require a huge financial resources, including administrative, personnel. Striking the balance between meeting humanitarian obligation and managing costs is a constant challenge for policymakers. And oftentimes, people who seek asylum are at the receiving end, so they bear the brunt. Quite unfortunate though. Now, legal and policy changes. As you know, notice for some of us who might have personal experiences or people who advocate for asylum seekers or refugees, you agree with me that policy continue to change overnight. The asylum system is subject to changes in laws, policies, government wake up one day and say they're taking people anywhere, they just choose anything, and it's quite challenges, highly uncertain. You can't even predict it. Even among lawyers, it's difficult to predict an asylum matter because the ratio of deciding how one gets asylum sometimes has gone above what we anticipate in law. It's even defy what we call precedent, because sometimes you could see same cases, same fact, everything the same, different decision. So it even defy legal precedent. That's a challenge of asylum in UK. Now, in conclusion, because of time, overall, the asylum system plays a crucial role in providing protection and support to individuals fleeing persecution, but it also presents challenges in terms of integration, backlog, public perception, and resource allocation. Effort to address these challenges require a comprehensive, compassionate approach that balances humanitarian concerns with practical consideration. This is a moral obligation for government, for us advocates, for asylum seekers themselves, and for those who empathize with the plight of asylum seekers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dixon, for sharing this. Thank you. So I'll go. My next speaker is Kezia Gitonga, and Kezia, she's an activist, social justice activist, and she's on the Migrant Voice steering group for the Visa Fees campaign. So Kezia will speak about her personal perspective on UK policies on visa fees and the health surcharge as one of the areas where UK policy is making life more difficult for migrants. So over to you, Kezia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me over. I'll start by reading a quote the UK gave as a response to a petition last year that members of the public put together to ask the government not to increase the visa fees. And this petition had garnered around 28,000 signatures. And the Home Office actually responded to it, and it said, the Home Office does not make a profit from visa fees. In line with the charging principles set out in 2014 Act, fees for immigration and nationality services are set in consideration of the cost of processing the application. The wider cost of running the migration and border system and the benefits enjoyed by successful applicants and any income from fees set above the cost of processing are utilized for this purpose. Income generated from immigration and nationality fees can only be used to fund the migration and border system and plays a vital role in the Home Office's ability to run a sustainable system. It is the government's policy that those who use and benefit most from the immigration system should contribute towards the cost of operating it, reducing the burden on the UK taxpayer. Now, there's so many things there to talk about that we pick up. First of all, the government says it doesn't make a profit. Then it contradicts itself and says any fees above that is to run a sustainable visa system. As the previous speakers have spoken, there's nothing sustainable about the Home Office, anything. From the visa process to how long it takes to the application process, the fees are going up. So where is the sustainability? That's the first question. Two, it says that we enjoy benefits once we become successful. Now, for me as an immigrant who now has nationality status, I can actually count the number of successful benefits I have. because now I have a husband who is going through the whole process again. So what is a benefit? Is it the long waiting times? We had to wait for his last visa for 18 months. Is it the inability not to be able to rent a property or buy a property? Is that what the Home Office classes as a benefit to enjoy? Is it the ability of your employer constantly asking you every 2 months, have you got a new visa? HR sending you all manner of emails worded in beautiful language, reminding you of your obligation. Is that the benefit we enjoy? It states again, an income set above the cost of processing are utilized. Therefore, Home Office is actually admitting there is a set limit for the administration fee of a visa, but they do not publicly put it anywhere. So there is a set limit, and any limit above this, which again negates their first statement, which they said they do not make a profit. The most heartful thing in this response for me was it's reducing the burden on the UK taxpayer. So basically, the Home Office, the government of the UK, has decided us migrants who've actually paid for IHS fees and for the fees to settle are not taxpayers. So you've already classed us in two groups. And which burden is this? Because we are paying tax already. So are we not important? Which kind of a taxpayer are we? So my experience is this. They have created a segregation, meaning migrants from Black and brown countries pay more. It is a fact. So it is not actually a fairer system. This is exactly the conundrum I'm facing, as I've said. My husband is paying as a dependent of me, IHS fees, and he's also being taxed. So in essential, he's being taxed double. So is this the enjoyment that the Home Office is stating? If you're on a 10-year route, which my husband is on, you will start building up money. In another 2 years, because that's how long you have to apply, you have to have the money ready. In the increase of the 38 and 29 and whatever figures they're throwing out, when will we have the time, the breather, to actually pay bills, gather ourselves, and then start the process again? Is that the enjoyment? No. In fact, we are stressed. There is no minute you're not thinking constantly, where am I getting the money for the IHS? Where am I getting money for the visa fees? Where am I getting money for biometrics? Everything is being charged. There is no consideration as migrants of our wages when they raise these fees, but we know why they're raising them, you know? And like one of the speakers said, it affects those who live outside London. I live outside London, so I do not get a living wage fee. What is not actually clear for us, and which is I'm yet to understand from all the documents, is whether with the new increase of fees, we can still combine our incomes to actually get to the 29,000 or the 38,000. That is not clear. So UK policy really is about, let's face it, they do not want a immigration system that works. So the UN Global Compact, which says that member states should think and provide a regular legal migration as a key principle. I'm sorry to say UK is not a member state in that sense. And for me, I'm quite concerned about the rhetoric politically, even for people who are allies before are moving over to the other side. So my question is, who is the UK taxpayer that is not a migrant paying already tax fees through their work. And why is this rhetoric becoming the most prominent during this election period? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kezia. Thank you. And similar conversation from the next speaker, Sophie Taylor. Sophie is also a trustee for Migrant Voice. She's the vice chair. She has years and years of experience with the trade unions and also with engaging with the Global Forum on Migration Development. And she was there actually actively also engaged with the compact, the process that led to this compact. Sophie will look at an area she has contributed to, which is a decent work and labor rights of migrant workers. And she'll make the connection, similar to the one that Kezia made, make the connection from the local to the global and how UK policies on visa fees undermine the implementation of the Global Compact on Migration. So Sophie, over to you.
Thank you, Naza. I just want to actually say that before I start, I believe I heard somewhere the government has said that the increase in the visa fee will pay for the NHS, which is a lot of crap, but that's beside the point. But I just want to thank Michelle. She brought back a lot of memories back to what I used to do for a living, which is sad, isn't it? I was actually going to say in 2021, the International Labour Organization estimate 169 million people work as international migrant workers, representing 4.9% of global labor force. So we are not dealing with a small number, we were dealing with a massive number. Of this population, 41.5% are women or female or girls, and the rest are men. And in the old term, we used to say women work in the 3C industry: catering, caring, and cleaning. And the man used to work in the 3D industry: dirty, dangerous, and degrading. That was the terminology used. Today, we say temporary, informal, and demeaning work. That was what migrant workers would be channeled into. Of course, we have migrant workers that come into very highly paid, professors, sorry, Nando, professors, IT consultant, and we have then the lower group, the care workers, the cleaners, the catering people, all the people that make our life easy. The one that harvests the peas for us for our Sunday dinner, the one that clean underneath the bed for our relative living in a care home, and the nursing and the caring. These are the people that are actually most impacted upon. And I think it's quite interesting that they are talking about dangerous, dirty, and degrading. But, we can actually have the experience. And my experience of migrant workers are actually mainly in the National Health Service. In 2003, I organized the first overseas nurses network in Europe. And I represented the trade union, the TUC, at the ILO for 4 years, looking at migration development. And also I spent some time at the Global Forum for Migration and Development. I was there when we were still talking to ourselves, Michelle. I remember in a dungeon, in the basement in the UN building, telling somebody, look, we are only using 3 lines. That's it. You're only getting 3 sentences, nothing else. That you remember those days. I was around on those days. I actually go back to the time that how we recruit migrant workers into the NHS. Actually, it's never stopped. Very recently, I heard that the health board I used to work for had just recruited 300 overseas care workers, healthcare workers, 300. There was a large number at the year around 2000, 2003, 2004, and they were coming from the Philippines, from India, from the Commonwealth country. And there was no agreement of recognition of qualification. And they were absolutely exploited in the process of trying to get their permission to work. When the NHS here in the UK, and it would be very much in a lot of work in terms of international recruitments, that in the UK, we are not allowed to, a worker do not pay the agency to find them work. The organization pay the agency to seek workers. But when they outsource this in another country, the agency, they charge the workers looking for a job for them. They could be charged up to £1,000 for an interview to have to be interviewed for a job as a care worker. They could be charged that. They are then charged for traveling costs. They are charged for living expenses. They are charged for everything under the sun. I have seen a Chinese worker, when we translated her document, she owns £10,000 to get a job here, as not as a trained nurse. She was a trained nurse, but she has to come here to redo her training, working as a care worker, but paid as a care worker, but working as a staff nurse. That is the level of exploitation we're dealing with. So we devalue the qualification and the training overseas, but we exploit their training overseas. So that is how exploitative care workers, especially migrant workers, can be. So a lot of them actually took out loans to meet this cost. So they are then burdened with a lot of debt before they even come to this country. And of course, when they come to this country, when they go to work, they are not paid, they're paid retrospectively. So they have to work for a month before they can get paid, which means they have to meet their food costs, their tax costs, their accommodation costs, their traveling costs. So therefore, they get more into debt. Some of them can get up to £3,000 or £4,000 into debt by surviving the first month in this country. And then, of course, I remember there was an argument with an HR person when this poor soul, by the time he paid for everything, he could only afford an apple a day to go to work. That was all he'd survive on for a whole month, an apple a day. And the HR person said to them, well, you can always work overtime. It's a good thing you can walk to work. There was total lack of sympathy for this poor wee soul who has come from a tropical country that don't even understand that we go up to -5 or 6 degrees, inadequate clothing, everything, and having to survive, working within an environment in which is totally alien to them. And the level of harassment, the level of discrimination faced by this worker is horrendous. They also are subjected to income tax, health tax, to pay for the health insurance, VAT, every tax under the sun, And also then they have the horrendous visa fee. It's almost as if, we have not stopped exploiting them enough. Let's exploit them even further. Why is this man going to work with an apple a day? Why don't you just go to work with half an apple a day? Even a quarter of an apple a day. An apple is far too much. It's too much to give this guy an apple a day. Let's just cut that apple and make that apple last for 4 days. I mean, that's good enough. This is the dehumanization of the workforce that we have within organization, institution. That is frightening. That is absolutely terrifying. So, the question is that when we drain all this money out of this individual, out of this family, we are also draining money out of the local community they live on. Because I always believe if you give a woman some money, they don't go and put that in Guernsey or wherever, Bahamas, whatever. They spend it in the local community. They buy food in the local community, they buy clothes for their children, they spend it in the local community, revitalizing the local community. Take that money out and you're starving that community, you're starving that family, you're killing them. And therefore, that is what the government don't seem, or this government don't seem to understand, that, you know, that you take that apple away a day, that man is spending even less and less. And those poor apple farmers, they are going to have it hard. They're going to have it tough. So I think that is the whole issue of where we are. I always find that the trade union find migrants workers hard to organize because they don't come with just one issue. You know, trade union, after the miners' strike of the Thatcherized era, stopped becoming a community organization. Before that, you know, if you're a member of the trade union, your family were part and parcel of that. Now we don't organize along that way. So they will come with problems with family, they will come with problems with the visa, and the trade union don't know how to deal with that. And unfortunately, these people are the Equality Act 2010, first and second point, which is direct and indirect discrimination, does not apply to migrant workers. So, you know, that they are subjected to more harassment. And the other thing is that though, when they are subjected to harassment and discrimination, they can't understand it because where they come from, they are part and parcel of a community. They are part and parcel of that society. So they may not have the experience of feeling the racism that they come when in this country. I just find it's really distressing. I've been here far too long. I'm too old, bad-tempered and crabbed, and I shout at everybody. That the whole issue for me is that the society, institution, the government is telling us they are not human. These people are not human. Therefore, they have no rights. When you take the rights away from a small group or a group of people, you are taking rights from everyone. And that, I don't think I ever got people to understand that we fought so hard to keep those rights, and the government is giving it away for us. I don't know what is the question to ask besides taking them out and shooting them one at a time, but I'm not allowed to, and you never heard that, okay? So I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you, Nazek.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you. Well, I mean, you know, I guess all the issues that the global Forum on Migration Development and the Global Compact on Migration try to address are still well and alive in this conversation where we brought so many issues. So all the issues are still there, actually, and there are no solutions. And this compact tried to address them. But so in the interest of time, I want to ask one question to all the speakers, but I need a very short answer, only for 1 to 2 minutes, because there are 40 people or so that may have some questions to ask. So we want them also to engage in the conversation. But we're here today also not to only raise those issues, raise awareness about them and speak about all these problems, which actually there are plenty of them. We wanted to leave feeling empowered, feeling we have hope, feeling, you know, inspired to take action. So it's very important that we think of what can we do rather than feel very helpless. I mean, just to go back to the compact, I think, you know, the compact has potentials and has shortfalls. And I just maybe mention a couple of the potentials. So it has to, had the potential to provide member states, signing countries, with a sound framework for governing migration in a manner which respects human rights and the rule of law. It's the first international document that demonstrates a globally accepted blueprint for states to work together towards safe, orderly, and regular migration. But of course, it has lots of shortfalls. Shortfalls are that these are not non-binding nature of the document. So, you know, there are no legal obligation on state to implement, to comply. Some states even see some of those as, you know, menu of options to choose which one we want to do. There's a lack of commitment to develop indicators to measure progress, as Michelle said earlier, this is something maybe the civil society organization can do. And also there's a lack of clarity in relation to the implementation of the compact. And also I add also maybe how the different states interpret, aspects of the compact. So given those, my question is, given those potentials and shortfall, what would be the most impactful role for civil society organizations and migrant organizations like Migrant Voice at the global level, but also in UK, because we also live in UK. So maybe if, very short answers, please, from every speaker, for maybe 1 minute or 2 maximum, so we can open the floor to other participants to have questions. I mean, can I go back to you, Michelle? I know you might actually partly answered this in your presentation, but giving you another opportunity to tell us what you think is, given those potentials and shortfalls of the compact, what would be the most impactful role we can play? What else can we do at the global level, but also in UK?
Yes, I would highlight building alliances across different areas of work. So we've seen this, for example, in the area of healthcare. And Sophie just also talked about healthcare now, but in some EU member states, like it was a huge alliance called the Right to Health Alliance in Sweden in 2013 that had 80 organizations, trade unions, civil society organizations, and it was a 15-year campaign, and it changed the law. So it was a series of events, but it was especially this alliance that was able to get the law to change more progressively on healthcare for undocumented migrants. And we hear it especially from our members in countries that are going much more to the right, like our members in the Netherlands, that they feel that they need to be part of bigger struggles and more visible struggles that aren't just focused on migrants, but to strengthen these alliances, improving conditions for all. I think you said it actually, Sophie, in the end. If you take away rights for migrants, it will automatically affect the rest. So I would really emphasize that because I would say that based on our experience in PICUM and our members working on undocumented, it's only been through alliances that we've achieved progress. And I think it actually, on issues like that, it will only be through that and through evidence and in trying to counter kind of this dehumanizing and criminalizing kind of context. So I would maybe just highlight that.
Great, thank you so much. So thank you, very helpful. Nando, how would you answer the question? Do you have anything different to tell us, to advise us on?
So I totally agree with Michelle's approach about the alliances, and I have a number of reservations on the compact in the sense, in the way the objective I've written, it really can fit a lot of different political agendas. It can fit easily a country which want to close the border and police and blockade migration. It can use the language of rights as a way of actually enforcing border control offshore. So there are a lot of issues. It's important. But the thing is that the civil society organization can play a major role as watchdog to push the agenda, to call the government in a sense to engage with the wording that I've put in the text, but at the same time, I wouldn't want people to put too much hope into that and continue to work on the ground at the local level and at all the level of governance in which we engage on a daily basis.
Thank you. Okay, Peter.
Thank you very much. I suppose the point I'd make is that, civil society can make a difference through legal challenges. And there's some evidence to support this. If you think about the Rwanda plan, for example, it begins with what might seem like fairly humble challenges on the part of, particular individuals, but that can, if with persistence and investment, that can lead to something more. Just one individual initially challenged their removal to Rwanda on that first flight. And then a year and a half later, it's before the Supreme Court and they're determining that Rwanda isn't a safe country in general for asylum seekers. So, I think there's some evidence that shows persistent legal challenges can actually have some substantial impact.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Helia? Same question.
Same question coming from a country which did not sign. Chile did not sign the Global Compact, and it's really behaving in a nasty way. So for the sake of the time, I didn't read what I had at the end of my presentation, which were to face all the challenges, historical challenges that go back, because what Sophie was saying is exactly the same as the Eastern sweating shops. I mean, it was worse than the Keynesian, and that Apple metaphor you use is exactly the same. So really back to square one. And so thinking about the Global Compact and strengthening alliances, I have put here, and stronger networks, integrate work on solidarity platform, have humanitarian and political strategies. Thinking of a global compact that was really elaborated and construed from the top. How can we, from the bottom, as civil society, maybe a question for Michelle, how can we feed, not only what has been done, but the gaps within the compact that Nando was really strengthening? Maybe I ended up with a question because, as I said, there's so many countries that, because of this non-binding dimension of the compact, is really risky. And countries like mine is really doing whatever they want with the migrants and the refugees and the asylum seekers. So that's my question. Sorry to end up with a question.
Thank you. Thank you. Something to make us think about. Thank you. Dixon, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, thank you very much. As a lawyer, I believe in legal activism. And just like the previous speakers highlighted, talking about Peter, we have to take up those issues legally, like the case of Rwanda again. That was legal activism at its peak. As a human rights activist, I believe in social mobilization. That's also another way of achieving what we want. We are going to speak more. We are going to talk more. We're going to lament more. We're going to make the noise more noise. And I believe that continuous and persistent activism, we will get there. Rome, they say, was not built in a day. We may not have all this in our generation, but one thing for sure, our footprint will be left on the sand of history. A change will come at a point, and that will depend on what me and you do today. Don't be bothered. The government listen to us. The people that matters, they do listen to us, and they are concerned. They are afraid. A revolution starts with one person, and before you know, the whole world could be on fire. We can achieve this by consistency. That's the way forward.
Thank you, Dixon. Thank you. Kezia, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, like everyone else, really, persistence is everything. But I want us to also understand that we live in a political shift, and right now migrants are always the political ping pong. So you've seen the news of the gentleman who, threw some chemical on a lady and a child, and it's been in every news agent for the last 1 week. So I think one way of conquering this is actually getting the media to change the narrative, because the media is perpetuating this narrative such that locally in our streets at home, everyone thinks that a migrant will kill them, will bomb them, will, so one of the things is taking back the truth. And the truth is not relative. There's not many truths. There's just one truth, that migrants are actually human beings as well. So it's making sure the media is not as weaponized as it is right now currently. Secondly, is to, like Dixon said, is to shout the good things that migrants are doing. If it's going to be in the news about bad things for one week, let it be 2 weeks about migrants, what they're doing. And lastly, it's education. A lot of the people who I work with, and also in my work, they do not understand this asylum process. They do not understand this asylum system. They do not understand that people pay for visas to come to this country and how long it takes. So a lot of education. It will mean national and societies like Migrant Health and also like Migrant Voice, Together, Families Unite, all of them have to start in their own neighborhoods first before going out, because it's become polarized, the UK right now. So that's my take.
Thank you. Thank you. Sophie, would you like to answer that question?
I
before we go
also
over the
only
list
have
of
three.
questions from
I
participants?
only have 3 words here:
Yes,
partnership, movement, and making it personal. I think that the whole debate of what Michelle said is true. We have to unite, but it's not only us. We have to develop partnership with people we don't like, politicians, anyone, lawyers. Dixon, did you hear that? We need it to be a movement. We can't just be on our own. We have to make this a movement, and we have to make it personal, not personal to us. We know how we feel. Years ago, I was asked to speak as a Scottish National Party conference, and we talk about how you need to earn a certain amount of money before you can bring in a partner. And this little old lady came up to me and says, would this happen to my nephew? Because my nephew is only a student, a teacher, and he's earning so little. And I said, yes, it would happen. But she's white. She's an American. I says, I hate to tell you, there's no color in this. It's personal. It's everybody's in it together. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to make it. We need to make it a community, a society issue, rather a migrant issue, because we need to make everybody owning it. The trouble we have at this point in time is that we know the impact, we know how it feels. We need to make other people feel the same way so that they come on board with us.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much. Great. Thank you. I've received lots of questions. Maybe participants can write the questions in the chat box, and the speakers can answer some of them, because we need to finish on time. But let's go over them and see how many we can answer. So I'm going to ask the question, ask maybe one of the speakers to respond to the question. So the question one, the person asking saying, it seems to me, as highlighted by many of the speakers, that there is the reduction in rights overall for those in the migration or asylum system in the UK, and an increasing attempt to divide the groups of migrants. Is there a way forward that enables more solidarity in an election year where rhetoric is likely to ramp up and be divisive? So who would like to answer this question? And I think Nando had to leave to leave the meeting. So who'd like to answer that question? I mean, I don't know, is this for you, Peter, maybe? No, okay, yeah, I don't have to, so I'm just guessing. Who would like to answer that? Okay, Helia, yes, go for it.
I think in terms of education, we need to educate the society as well. In the past, we've seen all what I just described in my presentation. The same thing is happening now, but that is hidden. Who fed us during the pandemic? We have to bring the migrants who did all the frontline work. They were the good migrants, the deserving ones for a little while. So we have to put forward that sort of, not just what migrants do, but also the exploitation they are under, the discrimination they are under, that which is historic in this country and in any other colonial countries. So that sort of education, we have to do it through our own groups, but in that sort of, what Sophie was saying, a sort of community of solidarity, not just in the past that families take homes, migrants or refugees or home. No, it has to be a sort of communal solidarity, political solidarity, politicize the issue of migrants, not just use the cultural, they bring, you know, the spices or the food, which is so naive. We should stop that sort of narrative, but bring them as human beings with personalities, with skills, with whatever they have. I think we must emphasize that human part of the migrant and the migration issue.
Absolutely.
But it happens to us.
Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. So the second question, is there a way for us as civil society to use conversations around the Global Compact to hold a UK government to account, especially in this UK general election year? Who would like to answer that question? I mean, maybe, I don't know, Michelle.
Dixon indicated.
Oh, sorry, Dixon. Okay, go for it. Yes, sorry. You should wave. Go for it.
Yeah, I think the best way to reach out to politicians who are double as policymakers when they finally got into office is during electioneering period. And so it would be very good to have a system in place where they could be tutored on some of those things, or possibly we could lobby them at this early stage to see that could be part of the pact, that could be part of the agreement, part of the deal for considering their candidacy. And trans politicians, they are not going to say no to it. They are going to say yes. And when they get in, we will use that to hold them accountable for their promises. So I think it would be a very good timing to tie this into it.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next question is, some of the speakers tonight have also commented on the unequal treatment of migrants, depending on where in the world we come from, different treatment based on race and class. How do we challenge the discriminatory nature of migration policies, whether as organizations and as individuals? Who would like to answer that question? I mean, I know it was addressed earlier on, but okay, Michelle, yeah?
Yeah, I think the panel actually has a lot of very good views on this, but I would just add that I do think it's useful to recall. I do think, for example, the UK must have a lot of commitments on anti-racism. The EU has an anti-racism action plan. And what we've been calling out is that the EU anti-racism action plan, the first one, was released 2 days after the EU released the Migration Pact proposal. And was there any checking internally that that Migration Pact met the requirements in the anti-racism action plan? It's hard to know that, because if you look at the pact, you would think they were completely separate developments. So part of the challenge, I think, is recalling, and I would also add that to the point on the Global Compact and how can we also challenge, like in this election year and also the implementation, is to really find the issues that are covered in it, and then to recall what the commitments are. And I mean, it's a lighter version of the legal challenges, but it's maybe the first demonstration that there are policy commitments, even if they're action plans. There are intentions, and a lot of the policies. I mean, the EU anti-racism action plan is quite well developed and quite extensive, but is the word migration covered in that action plan? Does the UK's anti-racism policy look at migration policies? I mean, it's these links that I think we probably need to also show. Then maybe the discrepancy is a little bit more.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess I'm going to pose the last question, and then I'm going to ask the speakers to conclude, give us their last concluding remark. So the last question is, is a wishful question. Will the visa, migration, asylum issues change with the new government? Is there hope? Someone is crying out for hope. Peter, maybe this is for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Give
It's
us hope, please.
I'm not sure I'm able to. It's not really clear that there's all that much separating the two parties at the moment. From what we've heard from Labour is a continued commitment to the enforcement side of tackling irregular arrivals. And we did hear that they intended to abandon the Rwanda plan and perhaps repeal the Illegal Migration Act. But then at the same time, we heard this contradictory message, which is that they were actually considering other safe third countries to transfer asylum seekers to, which really threw a spanner in the works for those hoping for a more positive alternative. So I'm afraid, the way I see things now, I'm not able to give that assurance, at least as it relates to asylum and refugee resettlement.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you can, I'd like now to go over and just ask you to very quickly conclude. Oh, sorry, Sophie, are you, okay, you want to say something?
I was actually going to agree with Peter in terms of that, even with the change of government. However, I like to have a glimmer of hope that we might have a contradicting itself future prime minister. But if we can have a government that we can influence, and that helps. I think at the end of the day, the difficulty we have is the closed door issue. There is a little bit about the Labour government. I mean, maybe a little bit, that we get invited to number 10, but we have to leave our phone at the door. But we are in number 10. That is a glimmer of hope that I would have said when Tony Blair was in government. We got a little bit more right. We got rights of maternity leave. We got carers request right. We have a little bit more rights. Some of it have been eroded. What I'm hoping for is that if we do have a change of government, that if we form a movement, we might be able to influence changes. And we can only cross our fingers on that.
Thank you. That's a very nice concluding remark. So I think I still would like to offer you the opportunity to conclude. But if you wanted the question, I think if you want something to reflect on, my question would have been, well, the trend in Europe and the US and many other countries actually around the world, including Chile and North Africa and many other places in the Far East. Countries are moving towards restrictions on people from certain countries and backgrounds, tighter borders, more walls, both physically and in policies, foreign policies. All these accompanied by increasingly hostile and at times inhumane rhetoric, really. Where do we start to reverse this? Where do you start? How do you start? I mean, I'm not saying let's go back to the days when my grandfather went to US from the Middle East, when there were all these boats and ships by the beach calling on people, encouraging people to travel. So, the doors were wide open. Come and help build, come and, get good jobs and good salary. But we're in really bad place at the moment. Where do you start from? You can also ignore my question and just conclude the way you wanted to conclude. So, Michelle?
Well, I would say we start from your webinar tonight, and which I think has been really, Helia told us about 1,000 years of anti-Semitism. Impressive. As we look at, I just found all of the inputs extremely hopeful. I would actually say the hope is first starting with all of us and then making that get bigger and more focused and more evidence and hopefully less prejudice and discrimination. But I know that sounds really general, but I think that our experience working on undocumented migrants is that anything that we've seen on the policy level that's been progressive at any level in any country of Europe has never been a gift from governments. It's always been through work. So I think that you have an excellent basis here. Very happy to be part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Helia. You're on mute, of course. Yes.
I agree completely with Michelle, and every single nothing is really a gift. Everything that has been done has been a struggle from day one, and I think the positive thing is that we are still struggling. We're here. We've been in this, and many other people have been in other forums. The need to now is we are in a very urgent point. We need to change narrative. We need to change what is really brewing very perversely. Join forces. So why do migrant voice, as has been done in the past, listen to the voice of the trade unions, listen to the voices, get those voices, and go to number 10 before the election and said, these are our, not demands, suggestions. Because as they start hearing the word demands, they think we are too politicized. Our suggestions because of A, B, C, D, before the election, not when they are in number 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kezia, would you like to go next?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I think my conclusion would be there are certain avenues we still haven't explored. We always go for the MPs and they double up as policy makers, but we have councillors. One of the things that has happened in Manchester recently during their debate, they actually voted for migrants who are not included in the voting process to actually have a voting right. As it stands right now, migrants from the Commonwealth have a right to vote in the national elections. So this is one of the avenues we can go to as well, locally, go to our councillors, present to them, because most of them actually have no idea about the migrant process, what affects us, what, seek allies with them as well, because the councillors also have a day job, so they'll influence their employers, because some of them are actually working with us. Our employers do not understand that when we are waiting for our application process, that we are actually allowed to work, we are allowed to rent properties, so there's a lot of scope for us to actually educate, but we think we need to stop assuming that people know and actually do the active being in every opportunity that we are given to appear. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is outside of my job, because every activity, every opportunity I have to raise the voice of the migrant, to raise the plight of what a migrant will go through, I am there. It doesn't matter where it is. And so we have to be there. And another thing we have to consider, the UK doesn't have a constitution. So essentially, it's what they decide, so we have to, in as much as we're going to make suggestions, some things we have to demand, we have to go there for it. And say we need it enshrined, because that's why immigration policy has gone down, because there's no real protection. So we need to fight for that real protection, whichever government comes into play. So one of the sad things I am noticing is that because of the rhetoric and everything, we get so fuzzled and tired, and even me, I get so discouraged. But there's always a glimmer of hope, in the sense of somebody else who might change the situation. For example, I will leave you with this thought. Before, we all talked about a migrant and everything, we never thought of ourselves as a different this, a different that. What happened is the politics came into place. So why don't we go back as seeing your neighbor being your neighbor, your butcher being your butcher, all that. So if we go back to that basis, then everything will work out. So we go back to basics.
Thank you, Kezia. Thank you. Dixon,
Yes.
your final remark?
Yes. My way of conclusion, I could say there's a need for all migrant organizations to synergize, to have a formidable front. There's little we can achieve as individual organizations, but there's so much we can achieve working together. I noticed there are many organizations interested in issues concerning migrants, but they work as individual organizations. Why that is good and plausible, it is better, or it would be better to have a voice that speaks for all of us. And that is to say, in unity, it will be strong. We will be strong to stand the pressure from people who oppose our ideas and our ideologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sophie, any final comments?
I think I learned from Helia tonight is that we have never stopped fighting. We have never stopped arguing, fighting, demanding, expecting rights, and we will never stop. It's not every morning is the start of a new day that we should try to take one step forward for our rights and our protection. I think there is something to be said, getting migrants more involved in the political structure. Politicians to understand that a lot of migrants actually vote. When I did my master's degree on whether migrants vote, I think I saw 50 odd people and only one person doesn't vote. And it's because she's from China, she doesn't have the experience of voting. So I think what we need our politicians to realize is that there is a constituency out there that require that input, that we also have to, but we have to put ourselves together as a movement. And that, I think, is the key to it. And also, we never get to the end. When we get to the end is when we realize all our rights and we can live as equal citizens of our next door neighbor and within our community. When we get there, we'll have a drink on that. I'll buy the champagne.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I want to thank the speakers very much for taking this evening to come and share with us your expertise, your knowledge. It was amazing, I mean, to hear all of you. And also, I want to thank everyone who came and joined us this evening and contributed to this event. But I want to leave you with some of the words I've heard today, and gave me hope again, because there was a danger earlier on that we're all talking about it's all doom and gloom and lots of challenges and problems and issues. But we're here because we wanted to come up with solutions, with action. We want to change things. And I'm just going to leave you with those some of the words that give us hope. About our role, what can we do as civil society organizations and migrant organizations and individuals and others, of course. And these are not from me, from the speakers and from everybody else. Building alliances, unity, improving conditions for all, providing evidence, countering negative narrative, legal challenges, persistence, start local, develop relationship with people we don't like politicians, build a movement, education, communal and political solidarity, not just cultural education. It's not about the food, even though, you know, I love Lebanese food and I'm happy that it has a nice reputation. Lobby candidates, look at anti-racism action plans similar to what they have in Europe and bring it here. And, you know, nothing is a gift and there is always a glimmer of hope. So I'd like to leave you with these uplifting words, give us hope, and I hope you can join us and we can continue this this fight together. And I hope you can join Migrant Voice and other campaigns, and we'll be in touch. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you at the next event.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Maybe they want to disconnect, guys. Okay, disconnected. It was a great evening, guys.
Well done, everyone.
Well done, everyone. That was good.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. You too.
I've just copied the chat. I think we're okay to. All right. Have a
Yes.
good evening, everyone.
Okay. Speak in the morning. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. You have to end it.